Picture a huge, heavy flywheel, a massive metal disc mounted horizontally on an axle, about 30 feet in diameter, 2 feet thick, and weighing about 5,000 pounds. Now imagine that your task is to get that flywheel rotating on the axle as fast and as long as possible. Pushing with great effort, you get the flywheel to inch forward, moving almost imperceptibly at first. You keep pushing, and after 2 or 3 hours of persistent effort, you get the flywheel to complete one entire turn. You keep pushing, and the flywheel begins to move a bit faster. With continued great effort, you move it around a second rotation. You keep pushing in the consistent direction. 3 turns, four, five, six. The flywheel builds up speed. 7, 8, you keep pushing. 9, 10, it builds momentum. 11, 12, moving faster with each turn. 20, 30, 50, 100. Then, at some point, breakthrough. The momentum of the thing kicks in your favor, hurling the flywheel forward turn after turn. Whoosh! Its own heavy weight working for you. Pushing, you're pushing no harder than during the first rotation, but the flywheel goes faster and faster. Each turn of the flywheel builds upon work done earlier, compounding your investment of effort. 1,000 times faster than 10,000, then 100,000. A huge heavy disc flies forward with almost unstoppable momentum. Now, suppose someone came along and asked, what was the one big push that caused this thing to go fast? You wouldn't be able to answer. It's just a nonsensical question. Was it the first push, the second, the fifth, the 100th? No, it was all of them added together in an overall accumulation of effort applied in a consistent direction. Some pushes may have been bigger than the others, but any single heave, no matter how large, reflects a small fraction of the entire cumulative effect upon the flywheel. This is the concept I want to talk to you about today, which is the flywheel and the doom loop. Coined again by Jim Collin and his team from one of my favorite best book called Good to Great, right? So Good to Great has some amazing mental models and business concepts and frameworks that you can apply to your business today. You can apply to your startup today. You can apply to your personal life today, right? This concept of flywheel has changed the way I think of work, and I think of work in a particular direction, especially, right? This concept of flywheels changed the trajectory of Amazon. Amazon was one of the customers or clients of Jim, and they had invited Jim to for an offsite. And during that offsite, Jim essentially told them about this flywheel concept and how it builds that momentum and what are the different activities that Amazon can do. And they used that activity as a secret sauce for Amazon in the early years. And once they built that flywheel, there was no stopping them. There was no going back. There was no way to stop them at all. So that's the beauty. That's the beauty of the flywheel and the doom loop that we're going to be talking about today. How I'm applying it from my perspective in my professional life on this particular channel. Initially, each video that I push, each video that I make is my push onto this flywheel, right? The more videos I create, the more chances of me reaching a better audience, a broader audience, and the more chances of me getting feedback based on that, so that I can create courses, I can create programs for you, and from there I get more and more uh, monetary feedback, so that it aligns me to keep making more and more content on this. So every time I do that push, it creates like a cycle that allows me to push this flywheel over and over and over again. And within a couple of days, I'm pretty sure that it's going to start building that momentum. It will start building that speed up, and it will fly off like a rocket ship pretty soon, right? So that's how I'm using it, and every media or point of leverage can be used that way. So this is the beautiful way that Jim has simplified it, because you can almost imagine it, right? It's literally like cranking a wheel. You have a wheel and you are circling that wheel with your hand, right? And initially it takes a huge push, it takes a huge effort by your hand, with your hand, to go even a single round or the second round or the third round. But the more you move it, the easier it becomes. The more you move it, the easier it becomes. The more you move it, the easier it becomes, and it becomes faster and faster and faster and faster. And eventually, it you don't even have to move it. You can just leave it, and it will start moving on its own. And that's what a flywheel is, because you have essentially given it the push and the momentum that it can now move on its own, and it can build the momentum again and again and again by itself. And that's what the beautiful concept of flywheel is about, and how you can apply it to your own life. Now, the flywheel image captures the overall feel of what it was like inside the companies as they went from good to great, right? So again, good to great is the thing that is the research that Jim did, which is essentially comparing companies who were decent and good to the companies who really went on at like another level because of the different practices and frameworks that they applied to their business. And the from that research, he's distilled down these concepts that you and I are sharing and talking about and discussing over here. Right? Please do put in the comments, share which is your favorite Jim Collins concept, and what did you learn from it, and also how did you apply it to your own business. I would love to know your stories. It's one of the major reasons why I want to share more content like this on YouTube, so that I get to hear stories that of people whose lives have been changed by these concepts, just like how I'm trying to share my stories through here. No matter how dramatic the end result, the good to great transformations never happened in one fell sweep. There was no single defining action, no grand program, no one killer innovation, no solitary lucky break, no wrenching revolution. Good to great comes about by a cumulative process, step by step, action by action, decision by decision, turn by turn of the flywheel that adds up to sustained and spectacular results. So he's saying that it's all a cumulative process. You just need to keep doing it, and eventually it will come around. Here's what's important. We've allowed the way transitions look from the outside to drive our perception of what they must feel like to those going through them on the inside. From the outside, they look like dramatic, almost revolutionary breakthroughs. But from the inside, they feel completely different, more like an organic development process, right? Again, this is for their research, because they're looking from the outside, that is as an observer. They're seeing the charts, they're seeing the astounding growth and all of those things. But from the inside, for the people who are actually working within the company, it's essentially the same thing that they're doing again and again and again. Just that because they're doing it, and because of the leverage, because of the activities that they're doing, every time they turn the flywheel, every time they complete a set of activities put together, the momentum becomes bigger. So the next time they move it, they are affecting 100. They're affecting the momentum of the 100 turns before it. The next time they move it, they are affecting the 1,000 turns that they've done before it. The next time they do it, they are affecting all of the 10,000 turns that they've done before this. Right? So all of that momentum builds up and accumulates, and cumulatively brings that result. It dawned on us there was no miracle moment. Although it may have looked like a single stroke breakthrough to those peering in from the outside, it was anything but to the people experiencing the transformation from within. Rather, it was a quiet, deliberate process of figuring out what needed to be done to create the best future results, and then simply taking those steps one after the other, turn by turn of the flywheel. After pushing on that flywheel in a consistent direction over an extended period of time, they inevitably hit the point of breakthrough. Now, this is important again, because I've seen it myself that I keep changing direction. So one important thing over here in the flywheel and the concept of flywheel is direction. You need to keep moving it in the same direction, right? If I keep changing directions from here to here, it completely loses its momentum. it completely loses its momentum. And if I keep changing directions, all of the built up energy behind it goes to waste. So I need to make sure that whatever direction I'm choosing, I'm going at it, I'm committed at it fully. Once I've done that, now I need to make sure that I'm completing all of the sets in the circle, or the activities that are connected with each other, so that it builds that momentum in every cycle, right? Because when and only when that you do it, it kind of builds it. Now there's a concept called smack, which I told which I've also recorded and shared with you. So smack recipes are essentially an outcome of the flywheel, or you can say they are interlinked, almost interlinked, right? Smack recipes, the more you follow the smack recipe again and again and again, it builds the flywheel. Similarly, the flywheel activities, they are integrated really well with the smack recipe, so that every time the flywheel activities are done, the smack recipe is also getting fulfilled by itself. So everything is working with each other. The smack recipe as a concept is essentially the recipe that the business follows. It's essentially the SOP of the business, that these are the steps that we take as a good business, and this is what allows us to remain viable and true to our soul, as well as the practices that I wanted, the quality of work that we want to deliver. And at the same time, the flywheel activities that we'll discuss in a minute, the flywheel activities allow you to understand how these smack recipe activities connect with each other and build on top of each other. Yeah. The good to great companies were subject to the same short term pressures from Wall Street as the comparison companies, yet, unlike the comparison companies, they had the patience and the discipline to follow the build up breakthrough flywheel model despite their pressures. Despite these pressures, and in the end, they attained extraordinary success results by the Wall Street's own measure of success. Right? We'll come to it in a second. The flywheel effect. The good to great companies understood one simple truth. Again, there are very simple principles that these good to great companies understood, and that we are trying to understand right here. That tremendous power exists in the fact of continued improvement and the delivery of results. Continued improvement and the delivery of results. Point to tangible accomplishments, however incremental at first. Right? Point to tangible accomplishments. Pointing to tangible accomplishments, even smaller, the smallest of ones, and show how these steps fit into the context of the overall concept that will work. Now, why is all of this so important? Because uh, why I love all of this is because it is super counterintuitive to how we think. We think that big businesses and growing a business is all about a lot of movement, a lot of pieces here and there. Whereas I think business is essentially a boring activity. What you need to do is you need to innovate in the beginning to figure out what works. So there's a lot of experiments happening in the beginning, which is essentially fire bullets and then cannonball. So you do fire a lot of bullets in the beginning, and then you figure out where the bullet is hitting, and then you put in a lot of resources behind that bullet and make it into a cannonball. And once you figured it out, you also need to figure out the recipe behind it, or the flywheel behind it, right? What are the 4 actions, 5 actions, 7 actions that I need to take one after the other, so that each one builds upon the other, right? We'll come to that in a second. But each activity builds onto the previous activity, and it builds into this circular cohesive structure, which gives us the result again and again and again, right? So once we figure out what that particular concept is, once that the product is the innovation that we have done, now we just need to do the same thing again and again and again. So it's boring. Once we figure out the innovation, then it's a really boring principle, really boring practice, and all you just do is keep doing the same set of activities again and again and again over an extended period of time, with greater resources as and when you get them, right? So in that way, business is quite boring. You don't have to make a lot of uh, different decisions. You don't have to keep doing new and different activities. You have to be disciplined about doing one thing and doing that thing the best way possible and keep getting better at it every day. And when you do that, only then can you improve improve about it. So all of these things really matter, and that's what we're talking about over here. That tremendous power exists in the fact of continued improvement and the delivery of results, right? So when you do this, the business becomes boring and it becomes stable and it becomes long lasting. When you do when you do this in such a way that people see and feel the buildup of momentum, they will line up with enthusiasm. When you do all of these incremental improvements and steps one after the other, and when people see and feel the momentum building up, they will line up with enthusiasm, right? They will line up with enthusiasm, and that enthusiasm is what they're calling the flywheel effect. And it applies not only to outside investors but also to internal constituent groups. The good to great companies did get incredible commitment and alignment. They artfully managed to change, but they never really spent much time thinking about it. It was utterly transparent to them. We learned that under the right conditions, the problems of commitment, alignment, motivation, and change just melt away. They largely take care of itself, right? So they're talking about this idea that do we need to bring that team into alignment? Do we need to compensate them more? Do we need to make them work harder, and so on and so forth? And he Jim is saying that, hey, once you figure out your flywheel and once you're building that momentum, the momentum takes care of all of this. You don't need to worry about it. The momentum picks the energy, it builds the energy within the company, it builds the energy within the individuals, and builds that motivation within them to work harder, to work for cheaper, and so on, right? It does not mean that you're exploiting them. It just means that those questions wouldn't even come up because they are enjoying so much. The enthusiasm is so much that they won't even wait to get back to these. Having understood that the way good to great companies tend to not to publicly proclaim big goals at the outset. Rather, they began to spin the flywheel, understanding the to action step after step, turn after turn. Now, again, this is one of the executives talking. If we just keep doing what we're doing, there is no reason why we can't become number one. This is an understanding that this executive had as part of the team, that if we keep doing what we're doing, there is no reason why we can't become number one. When you let the flywheel do the talking, you don't need to fervently communicate your goals. People can just extrapolate from the momentum of the flywheel for themselves. Hey, if you just keep doing this, look at where we can go. As people decide amongst ourselves to turn the fact of potential into the fact of results, the goal almost sets itself. So it's very simple that when you do the same things again and again and again, it builds those activities together and it builds that momentum. And the same thing is also applied to yourself, the personal self as well. The habits that we have, right, they are essentially our building blocks of the flywheel. The everyday habits that we do. If I don't shower regularly, I will smell bad, and if I smell bad, I will not be able to professionally impress someone and not be able to get them to buy or get them to get excited or even come to my class, and so on and so forth, right? So it does not make sense. Like, if my habits are not right, my results would not be aligned with them. Similarly, if my habits are to sleep very late, to wake up very late, and to miss exercise, it will affect my mood and it will affect my work and it will affect my results, overall results in terms of both economics as well as relationships. But at the same time, if I'm sleeping earlier, if I'm waking up earlier with more enthusiasm, more energy, and I have enough time to give to myself as well as enough time to give to other people around me, both my team as well as the people around me that I love, then I'm able to build a sustainable flywheel that will give me the results that I'm seeking, right? So the same concept of flywheel is not just for your business and your startup, but it's also for yourself. So you need to really internalize it and understand how it can be applied to you. What do the right people want more than anything else? They want to be part of a winning team. They want to contribute to producing visible, tangible results. They want to feel the excitement of being involved in something that just flat out works. When the right people see a simple plan born of confronting the brutal facts, a plan developed from understanding, not bravado, they are likely to say, "That'll work. Count me in." When they see the non-monolithic unity of the executive team behind the simple plan and the selfless dedicated qualities of a level 5 leadership, they'll drop their cynicism. When people begin to feel the magic of momentum, when they begin to see tangible results, when they can feel the flywheel beginning to build speed, that's when the bulk of people line up to throw their shoulders against the wheel and push, right? So the momentum, the enthusiasm, the leadership, all of that kind of combines together and brings people together. Now, there's an opposite to this as well. The opposite to this I've just mentioned for the habit thing as well. The opposite to this is essentially uh, the doom loop. Because if you do the wrong activities, then you're also going in the opposite direction, and that also compounds very quickly, and that essentially is the doom loop. So you're falling down the hill from there. Uh, So, as I said earlier, the comparison companies, they would push the flywheel in one direction, then stop, change course, and throw it in a new direction. And then they would stop, change course, and throw it into yet another direction. And after years of lurching back and forth, the comparison companies failed to build sustained momentum and fell instead into what we came to call the doom loop. So, doom loop is essentially this, that you are not able to sustain that momentum in one direction. So as I said, the direction becomes really important, because the direction and the result that you're seeking needs to be fixed. The way that you get there, that is something that you can figure out over time. But once you figure out the steps to get there, once you understand, right, not just from bravado, just not just from this arrogance, but rather from an understanding, hey, this thing links to this thing, this links to this thing, links to this thing, and when we keep doing this and this and this again and again and again, we will get to the result that we're seeking. It's just a matter of time then. And once you have that understanding, you are disciplined enough to keep doing it for a long time, because it will be a power curve, right? That means slowly it will build up, and then it will start shooting up really quickly, like a compounding effect, right? So it is a power law. So it takes a long time to build up, but once it's built, once that momentum is built, it shoots up like a rocket very quickly. So it's about sustaining that momentum long enough that it starts generating those results. That can only come when you have that understanding that these activities will get me into the right direction, into the right results that I'm seeking overall. So this is also called the shiny object syndrome, where you keep changing direction, and because you're changing direction, you're not really getting the answer to it. Now, interesting thing over here. Why did the good to great companies have a substantially higher success rate with the acquisitions, especially the major acquisitions? The key to their success was that their big acquisitions generally took place after the development of the hedgehog concept and after the flywheel had built significant momentum. They used the acquisitions as accelerator of flywheel momentum, not a creator of it. Now, this is again a really cool way to think about it. That they use the hedgehog concept and the flywheel to build a really strong foundation, and then when they acquired new companies, when they acquired new talent and assets into it, that was just an accelerator of that flywheel. So it was fitting really well with those activities that they were already doing, and the acquisition just put a lot more fuel onto that fire that is already burning, right? So that makes a huge difference, because without that flywheel already building and having that momentum and having the processes set internally, it would be very difficult for a good to great company, or any company for that matter, to even keep that momentum on. They will have to stop the activities, they will falter their momentum, and because of that it will just fizzle out. So this is really important to understand, that good to great companies uh, are the best examples of understanding and bringing all of these concepts home. Of course, we are also going there from this particular book, which essentially is talking about all of these concepts together. But yes, at the same time, it is very important to understand. Now, sustainable transformations follow a predictable pattern of build up and breakthrough. Like pushing on a giant heavy flywheel, it takes a lot of effort to get the thing moving at all. But with persistent pushing in a consistent direction over a long period of time, the flywheel builds momentum, eventually hitting a point of breakthrough. The comparison companies followed a different pattern, the doom loop. Rather than accumulating momentum turn by turn of the flywheel, they tried to skip build up and jump immediately to breakthrough. Then, with disappointing results, they lurch back and forth, failing to maintain a consistent direction. The comparison companies frequently tried to create a breakthrough with a large misguided acquisition. The good to great companies, in contrast, principally use the large acquisitions after breakthrough to accelerate momentum in an already fast spinning flywheel. Yeah. The good to great leaders spent essentially no energy trying to create alignment, motivate troops, or manage change. Under the right conditions, the problem of commitment, alignment, and motivation and change largely take care of themselves. Alignment principally follows from results and momentum, not the other way around. So this is what this particular concept is about. Uh, of course, there's I'll take this again. This I'll come to this concept again because it's so important, and there's like a really quick exercise as well that we'll do together, where we figure out the different activities how they kind of match up to each other. But understanding this, that there are a set of activities in your business, in your startup today, that if you keep doing them again and again and again, and if you keep building that again and again and again, that will build enough momentum for you to keep your startup, your business, your success afloat, and it will align people together. It will bring people from the outside, make them really interested, really intrigued about what you have to offer, and keep going at it again and again and again. So I love this concept of flywheels because it directly impacts my work as a professional. It is impacting my life, in my personal life, because of my personal habits, and of course in the businesses that I run, it really impacts to understand what direction I'm moving in, and am I doing the right things again and again, and am I changing directions too quickly and too frequently, right? It is a very difficult thing to understand and change, because for me personally it does become a problem. I have that shiny object syndrome, and I keep losing my focus about it. But at least I'm aware about it, and I keep bringing myself back to the same direction, bringing myself to the right direction, and then pushing through again and again. So yes, I lose momentum, but I don't completely lose it as well. So hopefully it keeps on building, and I over here on YouTube I won't lose it this time. So yeah, if you like this, please just subscribe and follow. Drop down in the comments, what did you like about this, how did you apply it in your own life, and what other frameworks, concepts, mental models would you like me to cover for your businesses, for your startups, for you as an entrepreneur. And I will try to cover them as soon as possible. Yeah. Until next time, I will see you. This is Atre, and I will see you on the next video over here. See you. Bye.